This happened a few years ago when I was 32. I loved finding unique decor items at yard sales. It was a sunny Saturday in my suburban neighborhood. People were out selling everything from clothes to old furniture. I thought I'd find some quirky pieces that might spark my creativity. As I walked through the rows of colorful setups, I felt excited. I picked through boxes and inspected items. But one sale caught my eye. An elderly woman sat behind a table covered with vintage clothes. Just behind her, I saw an old, dusty mirror. It was partially hidden under a pile of clothes. For some reason, I felt curious. I approached the mirror. The woman's smile felt off, too wide. I couldn't shake the chill down my spine. "It's a special piece," she said. I shrugged off my unease and bought the mirror. Back home, I hung it on the wall. At first, I admired its vintage charm. But that night, something felt wrong. The mirror reflected shadows that didn't belong to my room. I saw figures moving in the corners, but when I looked closer, nothing was there. I told myself I was being silly. Over the next few weeks, strange things happened. Items I bought went missing. I'd set down a new vase or lamp, and moments later, it would be gone. I searched my apartment, convinced I misplaced them. But that mirror caught my eye again. It seemed to pulse with energy, showing glimpses of people I didn't recognize. I wanted to ignore it. I felt anxious walking by the mirror. Its reflections looked blurry. Sometimes I thought I saw faces staring back, old faces twisted in pain. I tried to enjoy my decor, but the discomfort grew. I packed up the mirror, thinking it must be the source of the weirdness. I returned to the elderly woman's yard sale, hoping to give it back. But when I arrived, the sale was gone. The house looked abandoned. The yard was empty. I knocked on the door, but no one answered. Years later, I still wonder about that mirror. Who did it belong to? Why was it so oddly captivating? The memories of those yard sales haunt me, blurring the lines between reality and hidden stories. One night, I glanced at the mirror. A flicker drew my attention. I stepped back, heart racing. It felt like something was waiting. I turned to leave, but my feet wouldn't move. Then there were other encounters. I remember the yard sale with the strange porcelain dolls. Their eyes seemed to follow me. The seller chuckled, saying they were watching over me. The next week, I noticed one doll on my shelf, even though I didn't buy it. At another sale, I picked up an old book, its pages yellowed. The seller whispered, "Careful with that one." I shrugged it off, but later I found the words shifting on the page when I opened it. I can't forget the antique typewriter, either. I typed a few words, and then the letters rearranged themselves into a message. "Help me." I didn't know what to do. I never touched it again. A few months later, I found an old clock. It ticked backward, each chime sending chills down my spine. I tried to change the batteries, but it still wouldn't work. I eventually threw it away, but the ticking seemed to follow me for weeks. These encounters still stick with me. I often wonder if those yard sales were really just places for old things, or were they portals to something darker? Each item still carries a lingering chill, a reminder of odd encounters that still bother me. I hadn't thought about the mirror for a while, but that night I found myself staring at it again. It was like it was calling to me. I hesitated, then decided to take a closer look. My breath caught as I approached it. With every step, a shiver ran down my spine. As I peered inside, the darkness within seemed different. I noticed a faint swirl of color, a shade of blue that was not there before. I blinked, and suddenly I could see a figure standing behind me in the reflection. It was a woman, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Her eyes were wide and desperate. I whipped around, but no one was there, just the quiet of my empty apartment. I tried to shake it off. Maybe I was just tired, or still haunted by my previous encounters. I decided to ignore the mirror again. Maybe it was just a trick of the light. I distracted myself by rearranging my decor, hoping to shift the energy in the room. A few days later, while cleaning out my closet, I reached for a box of old memories. There, buried beneath the clutter, I found an envelope labeled Yard Sale Secrets. My curiosity piqued. I opened it. Inside were old receipts, and one stood out. A sale from years ago, marked clearly with a date I remembered. I scanned the list and froze. Among the items was the mirror I had bought from that elderly woman. Beneath the mirror listing, there was something else. Handwritten notes. Beware the reflections. They reveal the past. My heart raced. What did that mean? Had I unknowingly discovered something that shouldn't have been disturbed? I had to know more. I reached out to my neighbor who had lived in the area for years. She was an old soul, often sharing stories of the town's history. When I mentioned the mirror, her expression shifted. That mirror belonged to a local artist, she said slowly. She had a reputation. They say she could see things others couldn't. What do you mean? I asked, urgency clawing at me. She looked around, then leaned closer. Some believe her spirit is trapped. Others say she drew her power from it. People who owned the mirror often found it unsettling. That pit in my stomach
grew heavier. I should have just gotten rid of it, but now I was invested, curious about this artist and the dark tales surrounding her. As I headed home, my mind raced with questions. Had the mirror been more than a simple decoration? I needed to find any remaining pieces of the puzzle. I rummaged through my notes and found an old address connected to the artist. It was still on the outskirts of town. That night, as I stood in my living room, I glanced at the mirror again. I felt a vibe, almost like it was vibrating with anticipation, as if urging me to understand what I'd stumbled into. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen. My heart stopped. I took a deep breath and slowly walked toward the sound. I hesitated at the doorway, heart pounding. When I rounded the corner, my breath hitched in my throat. In the dim light, I saw the broken remnants of my favorite vase scattered across the floor. Suddenly, everything went cold. I realized I wasn't alone. Someone, or something, was in the house. I took another step into the kitchen, scanning the shadows. My heart thumped loudly in my ears. I swung the light on and scanned the room. It was empty, but I still felt it. A chill settled over me, wrapping tightly around my chest. The shattered pieces of the vase glinted under the harsh light. I crouched down, nervously picking up a shard. It felt wrong somehow, like I was not meant to be there doing this. A soft breeze brushed past me, and I froze, sensing movement behind me. I quickly turned, but saw only the darkened hallway. A slight creak echoed through the stillness, as if something had shifted. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaky. Silence responded. Yet the tension in the air thickened, pressing down on me. I turned back to the kitchen, feeling foolish, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I took another deep breath, trying to convince myself it was just the stress of the mirror and the stories I'd heard. I needed a distraction. I picked up the larger pieces of the vase and tossed them into the trash. As I stood there, I couldn't shake the thought of the notes I had found. Beware the reflections. What if they were true? Maybe the mirror had awakened something. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. Startled, I fumbled to grab it, letting out a shaky breath when I saw it was just a text from my neighbor. "Be careful. Mirrors hold memories. The artist never let go," it read. What did she mean by that? I typed back quickly, asking for more details, but she didn't respond. I rubbed the back of my neck, trying to push down the anxiety building within me. I had to get answers. I walked back into my living room, my gaze drawn to the mirror. There it was, looming large, looking deceptively ordinary. I took a deep breath and approached it. This was the moment I'd been avoiding, but I needed to know why I felt so drawn to it.
I placed my palm against the cool glass, willing myself to peer into the depths. I watched as the reflections slowly shifted, and then it happened. The colors swirled again, but this time it was more vibrant. I could see the outlines of people, their faces flickering in and out. The woman from before appeared again, her desperate eyes locked onto mine. "Help me," she mouthed, her lips forming the words silently. Panic gripped me. I stumbled back, tripping over a chair, landing hard on the floor. The moment I broke my gaze with the mirror, everything went dark. The room felt heavier, the familiar silence now oppressive. And then I heard it, a soft hum, like a melody weaving through the air. I strained to listen, trying to make sense of it. But just as quickly as it started, it faded into silence. Was this the artist's power? I thought about the tales of memories trapped within the glass. I couldn't shake the feeling that each note was an echo from the past, begging to be heard. I needed to know who she was and what happened to her. As panic gnawed at my insides, I remembered the address I'd found earlier. It was time to visit that place, to uncover whatever secrets lay behind it. The mirror had already shown me one glimpse. I had to understand the rest before it was too late. That's when I noticed something glimmering under the couch. I leaned closer to inspect it and gasped. It was a small locket, its surface etched with intricate designs. I opened it, and inside was a faded photograph of a girl who looked strikingly familiar. My breath hitched again as realization flooded me. She looked just like the woman from the mirror. I stared at the locket as panic twisted my stomach. The girl inside looked so much like the woman in the mirror, but it was more than that. There was a familiarity that felt unsettling. I needed to find out who she was. I shoved the locket into my pocket and stood up. My heart raced as I crossed back to the mirror. The glass felt alive, pulsing with an energy I couldn't explain. Maybe the clues I needed were here, hidden in its depths. With a shaky breath, I placed my hand against the mirror again. This time, instead of looking for the swirling colors, I wanted answers. "Who are you?" I whispered, staring deep into my own reflection, the image warping slightly. For a moment, nothing happened. My heart stalled. Then, just like before, the colors began to swirl. Faces flickered in and out, but this time they were clearer. I saw glimpses of laughter, of joy, and then despair. The woman appeared again. This time she stood not pleading, but surrounded by shadows, her face twisted in anguish. The hum arose once more, a haunting melody that pulled at my heartstrings. Suddenly, I saw the outline of a man. He looked agitated, shouting at the woman, the anger radiating off him. But just as I was about to make sense of it, the vision slipped away. The shadowy scene faded, leaving only silence and the echo of that chilling hum. I pulled away from the mirror, confusion flooding my thoughts. Who was the man? What had happened to her? I felt the locket's weight in my pocket, a tangible reminder that this was real. I needed answers, and that meant going to the address I'd found earlier. I glanced at the clock. It was getting late. I grabbed my coat, trying to shake off the fear that clung to me. The night air would be cold, but I couldn't wait any longer. I had to go. As I stepped outside, a thin veil of fog coated the street. My breath came out as a soft puff. I hurried down the path toward the address, only a short walk from my home. But each step felt more laborious than the last. The unease grew, prickling at the edges of my mind. Arriving at a small, dilapidated house, I hesitated. The windows were boarded up, the paint peeling. A chill ran down my spine as I imagined calling out to the universe for answers, standing in front of a place so shrouded in darkness. But I couldn't turn back now.
I approached the door, fumbling for the handle. Just as I was about to knock, a sound made me stop dead in my tracks. A quiet, persistent tapping coming from the window on the second floor. I looked up, instinctually leaning closer to get a better look. And that's when it hit me, a cold wave of realization. The silhouette behind the glass was unmistakable. It looked just like her. Before I could think, the figure faded away. My heart raced as I stepped back from the door, feeling exposed, as if the house itself was watching me. Suddenly, the weight of the locket pressed heavily in my pocket, urging me forward. I knocked, my hand shaking. No answer, but I could still hear that haunting melody, faint but persistent, echoing around me. I turned to leave, but the tapping returned, this time louder, more urgent. Someone, or something, was trying to get my attention. My heart raced, caught in the eerie rhythm of the tapping. I felt a pull, almost magnetic, urging me to stay. The sound echoed in my mind like a call I couldn't ignore. "Hello?" I managed to call out, my voice barely more than a whisper. I listened intently. Instead, the tapping continued, quick and consistent, as if someone were beckoning me. I stepped closer to the house, my feet almost moving on their own. The closer I got, the more I could feel the chill in the air wrapping around me, squeezing tighter, like an embrace I didn't want. Then, I saw it, a flash of movement behind the boarded-up window. I squinted, my breath shallow. "Is anyone there?" I asked again, feeling foolish but compelled. The tapping stopped abruptly. Silence fell heavier than before, pressing down on me. I glanced at the locket in my pocket. It seemed to pulse with an energy of its own, and I felt a surge of determination gather inside me. Then, almost as if prompted by my thoughts, the tapping resumed, but this time it was rhythmic, almost like a code. I couldn't understand it. Could this be a message, I wondered? Before I could second-guess myself, I turned on my heel and made a decision. I walked around to the side of the house. The windows were dusty, obscuring whatever lay inside. I pushed through overgrown weeds, feeling the sharp edges scrape against my jeans. I found a window that had a crack wider than the others. It was my only chance to see what was inside without forcefully breaking anything. I pressed my face against the glass, straining to peer through the dark. It took a moment for my eyes to adjust, but then I spotted a figure in the dim light. A woman, her back turned to me. She stood in a darkened room, surrounded by what looked like broken furniture and old paintings. I could hardly breathe. She was wearing the same style of faded dress I had seen in the mirror. "Is it you?" I mouthed, confusion swirling inside me. My fingers grazed the cool surface of the window frame, still hesitant, caught between fear and curiosity. Just then, the woman turned abruptly, her face half hidden in shadow. All I could see was her profile, but that chilling familiarity made my stomach drop. She looked just like the woman from the locket, the one who had haunted me since I found it. That's when I saw it, a flicker of movement behind her, a shadow that darted across the room. My heart pounded against my chest. I couldn't see what it was, but something inside me screamed to run. I pulled back from the window, my breath quick and uneven. I needed to leave, but a new fear gripped me. If she was here and something was lurking behind her, could I really just walk away? I stood frozen, weighing my options, when the tapping returned, louder than ever. It shook me from my stupor. The urgency in that sound cut through the fear. Before I even knew what I was doing, I pressed against the window again, with determination overriding my instinct to flee. I couldn't leave without answers. But the moment I leaned in, the lights inside flickered on, illuminating the room fully. I was met with a sight I could hardly process. The walls were covered in images of the woman and a man with a furious expression. Everything felt like it was racing now. The fear morphed into a primal need to know. And that's when... This was more than just a mystery. I was stepping into a revelation that could change everything. Then, without warning, a loud crash erupted from somewhere inside the house. I stumbled back, my heart pounding wildly as I realized I was not alone anymore. My instincts kicked in, urging me to flee. The crash seemed to echo in my mind, drowning out the previously rhythmic tapping. I took a step back, but curiosity pulled me forward once more. I glanced at the window, praying another glimpse of the woman would give me the answers I desperately sought. But she wasn't there anymore. The room pulsed with shadows, and I felt the thick tension in the air. I could almost hear my heart pounding in unison with the silence surrounding me. Then came another sound, a soft whisper that danced through the air, almost like it was teasing me. "Help me." My blood ran cold. I strained to hear better, searching for the source, but all I could see was darkness and disarray. It was unsettling, and I fought a wave of nausea. "Who are you?" I shouted, half hoping for an answer, but more so wanting to drown out the eeriness that surrounded me. My confidence was fading, and I felt the chill seep deeper into my bones. Suddenly, a second crash rang out from inside the house. This one was louder, more violent. The echoes rattled through the glass, and I stumbled back again, my heart racing. I didn't know what was in there, but it felt like it wanted to escape. The tapping resumed, louder, more insistent, sounding almost desperate. It was almost synchronized with the chaotic sounds from within the house. They seemed to be calling me, urging me to discover the truth. "What is happening?" I asked myself. My legs trembled as I took a hesitant step towards the door. Part of me screamed to run, to get as far away from this place as possible. Another part felt angered, like I was meant to be here. The tapping continued, but this time it shifted. Instead of a single rhythm, it became a chaotic ensemble of knocks, all at different intervals. It rattled through my mind, mixing with the whispers and crashes. I couldn't tell if the sounds were a warning or a beckoning. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see someone right behind me. The lonely street was still. I took a deep breath and made my decision. I had to confront whatever was in that house. I scanned the area. The front door was cracked open just enough to give me an inch of visibility, and I could see flickers of movement inside. It was risky, but I couldn't back away now. With the locket clutched tightly in my hand, I started toward the door. My heart raced as I reached out for the handle. "Just a peek," I whispered, more to reassure myself than anything. As I pressed closer, the door creaked ominously, opening wider on its own. I stepped inside, uncertainty gnawing at me as I crossed the threshold. Everything was darker than I had expected. Shadows loomed like figures waiting to jump out. The crashes had stopped, giving way to a heavy silence that was almost suffocating. That's when I saw it. A figure slid past me in the corner of my eye, darting into a different room. I turned to follow it, adrenaline coursing through my veins. "Hey, wait!" I called out, desperate to find answers. But as I took a step toward the motion, my foot snagged on something. I toppled forward, bracing for impact when I landed on something cold and hard. And just then, the lights flickered out, plunging me into complete darkness. I hit the ground hard, a sharp pain jolting through my body. I rolled onto my back, gasping for breath, the sudden darkness overwhelming. My heart raced, and the silence felt claustrophobic. I reached out blindly, fingers brushing against something cold and metallic. A lamp? I pushed myself up, fumbling for a way to orient myself in this pitch-black room. "Hello?" I shouted, hoping for a response. But only the echoes of my own voice came back to me, bouncing off the walls, growing softer, then fading. The absence of sound felt eerie, like the house itself was holding its breath, waiting. I forced myself to stand, wincing at the pain in my ankle. The whisper returned, now like a faint breeze, barely audible. "Help me." The voice was softer, more desperate.
I turned in its direction, still clutching the locket tightly. "Who are you?" I called again. My throat felt raw, and I strained to make out any shapes in the dark. Something scratched at the back of my mind. Who or what was I even looking for? I took a tentative step forward. The cold air around me felt alive, swirling and wrapping around my body. I stopped as I heard movement to my right. I wasn't imagining it. There was definitely something, or someone, here with me. "Show yourself," I asserted, infusing a frightened bravado into my voice. I had no idea if I was scaring myself silly or if there was something real lurking in this darkness. The thought sent another shiver down my spine. The air shifted, carrying a scent, a hint of lavender and something else, something damp. It triggered a memory, but it slipped away just as quickly as it came. Panic gripped me. Should I move or wait? I hesitated, trying to stifle the urge to flee. Then a glimmer caught my eye, a faint reflection flickering near what must have been a window. I took a cautious step towards it, my foot crunching on broken glass. The sound shattered the tense silence and made me falter. Just then, a small beam of light flickered back to life, illuminating a corner of the room. I squinted, heart pounding as I focused on the light source. A candle? It flickered timidly, as if struggling against the darkness that surrounded it. Then I saw a shadow move again, this time much closer. "No!" I gasped, backing away. My heart raced frantically as I realized the shadow was not alone. Figures began to materialize from the corners of the room, each emerging from the darkness. They were shapes with outlines that shifted and twisted. "Help us!" echoed in unison from the figures. Their voices blended with the whispers, a chilling harmony that left me paralyzed. I turned to run for the door, to escape these visions, but as I spun on my heel, I stumbled over more glass, landing hard. I cried out, more out of frustration than pain, scrambling to find my footing again. In that moment of chaos, the candle flickered violently and then blew out. The room fell silent once more, but I could still feel the presence of those figures pressing in. I couldn't see them. I could only sense their desperation closing in around me. What had I stumbled into? I needed answers, but now more than ever, I felt like prey in a trap. Yet somewhere in the back of my mind, that nagging thought continued. I had to know. That's when I heard the whisper again, but this time it was different. "You shouldn't have come here." Fear washed over me as the weight of their words settled deep within me. I was not just lost in the dark, I was being hunted. I was frozen, my breath hitching in my throat. The room felt impossibly close, the shadows wrapping around me like thin fingers. "What do you want?" I choked out, each word a struggle against the heaviness in the air. Suddenly, a cold gust rushed past me, carrying an icy chill that ignited panic once more in my chest. I staggered back, my heart thudding hard and loud in my ears. The whisper was stronger now, echoing like a warning through the darkness. "You need to leave." Then, a soft glow flickered to life, casting an eerie light over the far corner. I turned toward it, curiosity battling my instinct to flee. The shimmer illuminated an old wooden table, its surface strewn with trinkets. A dusty pocket watch, a tarnished key, and an intricately carved wooden box. Something in the box caught my eye, sending a pang of recognition through me. A locket. I moved closer, despite every rational thought screaming at me to turn back. As I neared the table, the figures flickered at the edges of my vision, their outstretched hands beckoning me toward them. I couldn't quite see their faces, but a sense of urgency hung in the air, pulling at my thoughts. "You have to help us," they seemed to say, words merging into riddles and echoes that made no sense. Ignoring the figures, I focused on the box. The locket inside was unmistakably the same one I had clutched when I fell. It was a part of my past, something I thought I lost ages ago. I didn't remember this place, but the familiarity of the locket stirred emotions long buried. Why was it here? I reached out for it, but as my fingers brushed against the cool surface of the box, the atmosphere shifted. The temperature dropped, and a low growl reverberated around me. My instincts kicked in. I inhaled sharply and yanked my hand back, but it was too late. The room shook violently, and I stumbled. "Leave!" The whispers turned frantic, merging into chaotic screams that echoed through the walls. Books flew off the shelves, shattering on the floor. The figures seemed to dissolve into smoke, their faces contorted in anguish. I spun to run, but the door I had entered through was gone. I was trapped. My breath quickened as I searched for another exit, my heart racing. I darted back toward the table, desperate to find the locket, but it was gone. Then I heard something, a voice carrying through the chaos with piercing clarity. "You've awoken them." "What? Who?" I cried out, backing away from the table, the shadows shifting as if they could sense my fear. From the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of something dark gathering near the floor, shadows swirling together to form a shape. A creature? My heart pounded as I turned fully to face it. In the dim light, details emerged, and I realized I was staring into the hollowed eyes of a figure much different from the others. It was solid, thick, and it radiated threat. "Too late," it hissed, and in that moment, I understood the finality of its words. My chance to escape was slipping away fast, and a dread washed over me as I clutched my locket, the one thing tying me to my reality. This couldn't end here. Then, without warning, everything plunged into darkness once more. The world went silent, and a new weight settled over me, thick and suffocating. I had no clue where I was anymore, but the only thought left in my fraying mind was the terrifying possibility that I would never find my way out. I gasped as the darkness enveloped me, an oppressive void that stretched endlessly. I couldn't tell if my eyes were open or closed. Panic gripped me again, sharper this time. My heart raced, and I fought against the sensation of floating in nothingness. Then the cold wind returned, swirling around me like a frenzied dance, pushing me in a direction I couldn't refuse. I stumbled forward, barely able to see anything. In the distance, a faint light flickered, and instinct urged me to move toward it. As I inched closer, details slowly emerged from the darkness. An old house, its once vibrant paint now peeled and faded, the windows darkened and hollow. A familiar unease crept back into my chest. I had seen this house before, during my childhood. Suddenly, I was standing at the front door, the wood warped and weathered. My hand lifted of its own accord, and I knocked. The sound echoed, bouncing back into the darkness. It felt like an eternity before I heard a response, an unnerving shuffling from inside. "Who's there?" A raspy voice called out, barely above a whisper. I froze. The voice felt like it belonged to someone familiar. "Is anyone there?" I managed to say, my throat tight with anxiety. The door creaked open just a crack, revealing a shadowy figure. I squinted, desperate for a glimpse of a face, but the figure remained obscured. "You should not have come here," it said. Each word slid through the air like ice. A surge of recognition hit me. This was the caretaker from my childhood, the one who always warned me never to enter this house. I stumbled back, my mind racing. I need to leave." But the figure pushed the door wider, stepping into the dim light. "You are already here," it replied, and I could feel the weight of its gaze. "You've disturbed what lies below." Beneath its warning lay an unspoken truth that filled me with dread. I could feel something lurking just beyond my sight. It was as if the very walls of the house were alive, whispering secrets that clawed at my sanity. Before I could turn and flee, a loud crash from inside seized my attention. The sound was followed by frantic whispers, different from before. They sounded driven by desperation, asking for help. "We cannot stay here," they clamored. I stepped back, confusion swirling inside me. "Who?" I shouted into the darkness. "What do you want from me?" The caretaker's expression remained unreadable, eyes glinting with what felt like both pity and warning. "You must choose. Help them or run. But know this, they may not let you leave." I felt the ground shift beneath me, as if the house itself had taken a breath, preparing for what was to come. My pulse quickened as I took a shaky step back. "I won't," but before I could finish, a tendril of darkness shot forth from the house, barreling toward me with a swift ferocity. I realized too late my mistake. "Help!" I screamed. But the shadows had already wrapped around me, pulling me deeper into the house's heart. Despair knotted in my stomach. I was caught between the living nightmare around me and the memory of that locket. And that's when I felt it, activity beneath my feet, something pulsing and alive. "You're not alone," the shadows whispered, promising both salvation and doom. I was on the brink of uncovering a truth about this house, the truth about my own past. And if I didn't find a way to escape now, it might swallow me whole. The shadows tightened their grip around me, and despair knotted in my stomach. I could feel the coldness seep deeper, the whispers growing louder, merging into a chorus of pleas. "Help us! Help us!" The desperation in their voices reverberated through my bones, seemed to vibrate with their anguish, and every instinct screamed for me to break free. But somehow, I was paralyzed, a part of me tethered to this place, drawn in by the echoes and memories weaving through the air. I thought of the locket, its weight heavy in my pocket. In a moment of clarity, I remembered the faces in the mirror, the woman with desperate eyes, the artist. The realization hitting me with a sudden surge of purpose. I could help them. I had to try. Summoning all my courage, I plant my feet firmly on the ground. "I won't run," I shouted into the consuming darkness. "I won't leave you." The words echoed back, and for a fleeting moment, the shadows paused, as if they were waiting, calculating. With shaking hands, I pulled the locket from my pocket and held it up to the faint light that flickered from within the house. It felt alive against my skin, pulsing in rhythm with the chaotic energies swirling around me. I closed my eyes, focusing on the memories I had of its purpose, as confusion merged with clarity. Whatever darkness lurked in this house also held the key to release, for the trapped souls as well as for me. "Show me," I demanded, willing the locket to reveal its secrets. It flickered like a beacon, and suddenly the weight of years of despair crashed down on me like a wave. Images flooded my mind, snapshots of laughter, sorrow, and creation. I saw the artist surrounded by menacing shadows, her joy eclipsed by rage and heartbreak. I felt her longing, the fear that had gripped her for so long. Then it struck me. The locket wasn't just a relic, it was a connection. Within it lay the power to confront the darkness that imprisoned the souls of those around me. I took a deep breath, willing myself steady. "I release you," I shouted, feeling the energy of every word ripple into the shadows. In that moment, the atmosphere shifted. The shadows around me twisted and morphed, drawing back as if reacting to my declaration.
The whispers intensified, converging into a singular, desperate cry. But I met the turmoil with resolve. "You are free," I said firmly, highlighting my defiance against the encroaching darkness. The locket pulsed violently in my hand, and the walls of the house shuddered. I could see the figures finally coalesce in front of me. Faces once twisted in pain, now softened with gratitude. They stepped forward, their spectral forms beginning to shimmer. Their eyes met mine, filled with a shared understanding. And then, a tremendous rush of energy surged through the air, the shadows recoiling as if in agony, dispersing with a force that rattled the very foundation of the house. "Thank you," they whispered in unison, their voices wrapping around me like a warm embrace. "You found us." As clarity emerged from the whirlwind, I felt tethered to the locket, its glow washing over everything. The shadows faded, powerless against the radiant light. And then, just as abruptly as it had begun, a serene calm enveloped the house. I stood, alone, breathless, the heavy silence returning. Everything felt different now, the air lighter, the oppressive weight gone. I glanced from corner to corner, taking in the remnants of what had been. As I turned to leave, I couldn't help but feel a presence behind me, something lingering, something unfulfilled. Yet I didn't look back. I stepped through the doorway, and as I crossed the threshold, the feel of reality rushed in, pulling me into the safety of the outside world. The air was crisp and fresh, every breath filled with life. But even as I took in the calm night, that old unease lingered. The questions returned, relentless shadows in the back of my mind. What had truly transpired? Who had that artist really been? What darkness still remained, lurking just beyond the everyday life I was returning to? I glanced down at the locket clenched tightly in my hand. The mystery floated, unresolved, yet potent, a reminder that some truths might forever slip through our fingers like sand. And though I stepped away from the house, triumphant yet somewhat hollow, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever stories had been unearthed, others were still waiting, hidden, perhaps ready to emerge another day. As I walked back toward the streetlight, the fog rolled in behind me, curling like ghosts rising for one more dance. The night still held secrets, and I knew they would forever whisper my name.